Most people knew Marilyn Monroe as Hollywood's ultimate seductress, but her first husband saw a terrified 15-year-old, forced to choose between another foster home and a stranger's ring. James Dougherty finally tells the truth of Norma Jean's brutal childhood, the arranged wedding that saved her from the orphanage, and a secret so painful it changed them both forever. What really happened before the world met Marilyn Monroe? Norma Jean Mortensen entered the world in Los Angeles on June 1, 1926, already marked by absence. The name of her father, listed as Edward Mortensen on her birth certificate, meant nothing. He was never part of her life. Her mother, Gladys, worked in a film lab, but the burden of mental illness soon overwhelmed her. In 1934, Gladys suffered a severe breakdown and was committed to a psychiatric hospital. Norma Jean, just 7, found herself adrift, passed from one household to another. She spent several years with the Bolender family in Hawthorne, a foster arrangement that brought some stability, but never the certainty of home. That ended abruptly. By the fall of 1935, she was placed in the Los Angeles Orphans' Home Society, a sprawling institution where children lined up for meals and learned to expect little permanence. Weekends sometimes brought movies, but mostly the orphanage meant separation and the quiet ache of being unwanted. Grace McKee, a friend of Gladys, tried to step in. Over the next 5 years, Norma Jean bounced between Grace's household and a series of foster homes, each move reinforcing the lesson that nothing lasted and no one stayed. She grew up watching other children leave with parents, always wondering if someone would ever choose her. By 15, the question was not what she wanted, but where she would be sent next. The fear of being abandoned was never far away. It shaped every hope, every desperate wish to belong. 1942 brought a decision no 16-year-old should ever face. Norma Jean's guardians, Grace and Doc Goddard, were leaving California and could not take her with them. The choice was stark: return to the orphanage or marry the boy next door. Grace asked James Dougherty's mother if her son would consider marrying Norma Jean. Dougherty, 21 and working nights at Lockheed, agreed. He later admitted, "I thought she was awful young, but I took her to a dance. She was a pretty mature girl, and physically she was mature, of course. We talked and we got on pretty good." 18 days after her 16th birthday, they stood together at a modest ceremony in Los Angeles. The law allowed it with a guardian's consent. For Norma Jean, it meant a roof, a family name, and a way out of the system that had defined her childhood. Dougherty would later say, "We decided to get married to prevent her from going back to a foster home, but we were in love." Still, he confessed in later years, 16 is too young to get married. On their first date, they went dancing. Dougherty remembered her as a smooth dancer, tall for her age, and not shy in conversation. Yet beneath the surface, Norma Jean was frightened and unprepared for what marriage demanded. Years later, she would say, "I did not know anything about marriage, especially the next part of it." She wanted to belong to someone, to feel safe. But the ink on their marriage license was barely dry when Dougherty left for merchant marine duty. Alone again, Norma Jean faced another empty house, the echo of abandonment, never far behind. At the height of the war, Norma Jean found steady work at the radio plane factory in Van Nuys, assembling parts for remote-controlled drones. Her days were spent in overalls, hair tied back, hands stained with grease, one face among hundreds of women supporting the war effort. Then, in 1944, Army photographer David Conover arrived on assignment, searching for images to boost morale. He noticed her right away and later called her the photographer's dream girl. His photos captured a spark that was impossible to ignore. Offers for modeling poured in almost overnight. She signed with the Blue Book Model Agency, and soon her image graced magazine covers across Los Angeles. By 1946, 20th Century Fox executives invited her for a screen test. They saw something magnetic, even though she had no acting experience. It was a moment of discovery. The studio had rules. Their new star could not be married. The choice was stark: career or marriage. In September 1946, Norma Jean filed for divorce from James Dougherty. With the ink barely dry, she met with Fox casting director Ben Lyon, who suggested a new name, Marilyn Monroe, borrowing her mother's maiden name. Years later, she explained that she was 5 when she started wanting to be an actress. She said she loved to play. She did not like the world around her because it was kind of grim. But she loved to play house, because you could pretend. When she heard that this was acting, she said that is what she wanted to be. Accounts from those closest to Norma Jean suggest a private struggle, rarely glimpsed by the outside world. Years later, director Jean Negulesco recalled a quiet confession. Marilyn admitted she had never experienced real pleasure with a man. That admission shocked those who knew her. In her own notes published after her death, she wrote of waking up bewildered about why others seemed so consumed by sex while she felt nothing. She described herself as frigid, rejected, lesbian, words she found in books as she searched for an explanation for feelings she could not name. She wondered if she was broken, unable to be like other women. A trauma psychologist explains that early abandonment often leaves a person desperate for belonging, but unable to trust intimacy. For Norma Jean, marriage was meant to be a safe haven, but the wounds of childhood made closeness feel impossible. In the end, her greatest devotion was to her work, the only place where she could control the script, even as she lost herself in the role. Today, millions still chase the fantasy of Marilyn Monroe, while the truth of Norma Jean's search for belonging remains overlooked. Fame rewrites reality, but longing for love never changes.